Alright, let's get one thing straight. Superman is back, but not in the way you remember. On one side, we've got James Gunn's shiny new Superman who's bleeding in the opening scene, looking like he just survived a Kryptonian bar fight. And on the other side, Zack Snyder's Superman, who's basically invincible, taking down gods like it's a casual Tuesday. So, which Superman is the real hero? The one who's humanized, vulnerable, and bruised by the world, or the one who can destroy cities without breaking a sweat? Get ready, because we're diving into the battle of the century, the soft hero versus the unstoppable god. And trust me, by the end, you'll be questioning which version of Superman truly deserves the cape. Gunn's trailer opens with an interesting choice, a blooded Superman. Not just any blooded Superman, mind you. We see him crash land into a snowy field, barely able to stand, with visible injuries. This isn't the Superman we're used to, gliding into action like a symbol of hope. No, this is a Superman who seems to be hurt, struggling, and fighting against something bigger than himself. This scene sets the tone for Gunn's approach. He's focusing on a hero who is more human than ever before. It's clear that Gunn is going to explore Superman's vulnerabilities. Yes, he's a godlike alien with incredible powers, but at his core, he's also someone who has to struggle with personal loss, identity, and responsibility. The Superman we're introduced to here is deeply flawed, which makes him instantly more relatable. On the flip side, Snyder's Man of Steel trailer opens with a Superman who is, for lack of a better term, a beast. When we first meet Clark Kent played by Henry Cavill, he's not even fully Superman yet. He's still struggling with his powers, unsure of his place in the world. But even then, you can sense his strength. The opening visuals are packed with heavy, looming skies and dark tones. It feels like this world is about to be tested in ways that will challenge everything we think we know about Superman. Snyder's Superman is physically imposing, a far cry from the more whimsical depictions we've seen in the past. Cavill's portrayal from the very beginning sets him apart from previous versions, showcasing a Superman who is incredibly strong but also searching for his true identity. You don't see him bleeding on the ground like Gunn Superman. Instead, Snyder's Kryptonian hero is invincible. This difference in opening shots is crucial to understanding each director's approach. Gunn's version is much more grounded, perhaps even more emotionally resonant, while Snyder's Superman is a symbol of power and grandeur. Gunn's Superman might suffer, but Snyder's is indomitable. The next big topic is how each Superman handles their identity. In Gunn's film, we see a young Clark Kent who's still figuring out his place in the world. This Superman is torn between two worlds, the one he was born into and the one he was raised in. We get a glimpse of Corin's West's portrayal, which feels like a throwback to the more traditional Clark Kent. He's still learning to balance being human and being the hero the world needs. But perhaps the most interesting thing Gunn is doing is showing us Superman's emotional struggles in a way that we've never seen before. While he's clearly powerful, he's also a young man trying to find his place in a world that may not fully accept him. Whether it's dealing with his adoptive parents or the looming presence of the threat of the universe, this Superman story is more about his inner conflict. He's not the uncheckable godlike figure we're used to. He's a person who's coming to terms with his role in the world. Contrast that with Snyder's Superman, who is constantly questioning his very existence. In Man of Steel, Clark is a grown man who is already grappling with the burden of his extraordinary abilities. And like Gunn Superman, Snyder's take is grounded in the conflict of power. The world sees him as a threat, and he's still trying to find out where he fits in. But rather than being a relatable figure, Snyder's Clark is a stoic figure trying to reconcile his extraterrestrial origins with his early upbringing. Snyder's Superman is more like a reluctant hero, constantly caught between his desire to do good and his fear of the consequences of his powers. The weight of this responsibility is a central theme throughout the film, as we see Clark struggle to figure out what it truly means to be human. Snyder's Clark Kent doesn't have the luxury of time to figure it out. He's forced to grow up fast, and his internal conflicts often come across as more tortured than Gunn's version. Snyder's Superman is more mature but also more emotionally distant. Gunn, however, seems to be embracing a hero's journey full of personal growth and discovery. When it comes to action, Gunn's Superman shows restraint. The trailer features Superman lifting heavy objects and saving people from danger, but there's an underlying sense of control in his actions. Gunn's hero doesn't go around smashing buildings or throwing punches just for the sake of it. Instead, The focus is on him trying to do the right thing without causing too much damage. This Superman's power is almost as much about restraint as it is about strength. The trailer has us envisioning Superman not just as a beacon of hope but also as someone who's aware of the consequences his powers can have. In Gunn's world, saving people isn't just about brute force. It's about thinking ahead and considering the impact of his actions. In stark contrast, Snyder's Man of Steel embraces Superman's raw power to its fullest extent. The battle scenes in the trailer show Superman going toe-to-toe with General Zod, and it's a total spectacle. Buildings crumble, cities are torn apart, and every punch feels like it could destroy the entire planet. The visual effects in Snyder's film amplify the sheer devastation of Superman's abilities. There's no holding back. Even when Superman is trying to be heroic, you can't ignore the collateral damage that comes with it. The action is more about showcasing Superman's physicality, proving just how strong he is. It's a visual representation of how powerful Superman is, but it also comes with the grim reminder that sometimes heroism does come with consequences. The contrasting approaches in these two trailers highlight the difference in the philosophical undertones of each film. Gunn's Superman feels like a hero who's learning to temper his power, while Snyder's Superman is more of an unstoppable force of nature, often unable to control the fallout of his actions. Gunn's Superman is all about the team. We see Lois Lane Rachel Brosnahan, who seems poised to bring a grounded and smart approach to the Superman story. But what's most interesting is the inclusion of characters like Guy Gardner Green Lantern and Krypto the Superdoll. These additions hint at a future where Superman is surrounded by a family of heroes, possibly paving the way for a Justice League that's more lighthearted and diverse than before. The inclusion of these characters shows that Gunn's Superman will likely be part of a larger, interconnected universe, one that feels more collaborative than Snyder's. In Snyder's version, Superman is largely alone. Lois Lane plays a crucial role, but she's mostly there to act as the moral center for Superman, someone to ground him when the world feels like it's falling apart. Characters like Zod represent the external threat, and General Swanwick Lawrence Fishburne provides a more military-centric perspective. However, Snyder's Superman has a sense of isolation that we don't see in Gunn's version. It's a darker, more solitary journey. Gunn's world is more about building relationships, while Snyder's Superman feels more like a loner fighting for survival. Each approach gives us a different view of what it means to be superhuman. Gunn's Superman is part of a larger, hopeful community, while Snyder's Superman stands apart, dealing with an existential crisis. So, after breaking it all down, which version of Superman is your favorite? Do you prefer Gunn's optimistic, vulnerable Superman, or Snyder's raw, powerful Kryptonian who's constantly battling the weight of the world?